Ryan, this is a full circle moment right here because as most of you may or may not know, Tom and I met at a System of a Down concert, and right now he is traveling to go and see them on one of their very rare shows.
He deserves a break. He works really hard to bring us and you all sorts of content and comic book related stuff, so I guess he can go see a concert or something. I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not there. I'd rather be here with you guys. Hit the like, slap the subscribe button. I gotta say that because that's in my contract. Let's get into the list.
Number 10 on the list, Werewolf by Night, the red band #1. This is the 1 in 50 Jeff DeCall variant, $85 average sales. We had multiple $125 raw pre-sales, and once the book was actually released and in hand, we have a high confirmed sale of $110.
Unlike the recent crossover event Blood Hunt, which featured a standard edition of the book as well as a polybag red band graphic R-rated version of the story, this Werewolf by Night red band, that's all you get. You either read the R-rated red band version or you don't read it at all.
So far, this red band experiment seems to be going fairly well. We had quite a few of our readers who liked Blood Hunt and wanted to get the red band books. When they start doing books like this that are only available in red band, this is probably going to be the real litmus test of whether or not the market is going to bear these sales. We also do have an upcoming Wolverine with Hickman and Capullo that's going to be available in the regular and the red band, and I think the more that Marvel does things like this, the more horror people they are drawing in. I have a lot of people right now who wouldn't normally mess with Marvel that are absolutely devouring every single one of these red band issues.
That's true. I probably would not have tried a Werewolf by Night #1 unless it was in this red band edition. I have a copy myself waiting for me. I'm still a couple weeks behind on my pull list, so I will get to that one soon, but I am looking forward to it. Moving on, we've got Masters of the Universe #1 from 1982 here at number 9 on the list. We've got $25 average sales and a 9.8 hit $345 back in July.
We have a 100% increase in copies sold this week on the news that Camila Mendez is going to be portraying the character Teela. You would know this actress from Riverdale. Now, we've been talking about He-Man and He-Man related stuff for quite some time, and this is one of those books that is a little bit difficult to kind of pinpoint what you really want if you're a He-Man collector. This book is the first 3-issue DC miniseries, but he also showed up in DC Presents. He also showed up in a bunch of little 16-page inserts that are all throughout DC Comics in 1981 and 1982. So there are lots and lots of spec options, which is probably why these early He-Man books aren't selling for a whole lot more. If you really want his first appearance in anything print-wise, you're looking at like coloring books and like kids' activity books that came out even before the DC comic books.
And I guess you just have to keep in mind that this movie is happening. It's currently set to drop in June 2026. Last time this made the list in February. That was when the director was attached. This book made the list again in May when actor Nicholas Galatine was attached to play He-Man. And now here we are again with a new actress attached to play Teela. So it's like every time we get a little inkling of news, people remember this movie's happening and go out and grab the book. So it seems like the key here is just to wait, maybe hold your horses a little bit until the news dies down in one of these little off periods and lulls. That might be a better time to jump on a book like this, but it does seem like this movie is chugging along full steam ahead.
Last time we talked about this book, it was because Mattel Films had made an announcement about many toy kid properties that they were working on. And while Barbie made well over $1 billion, and He-Man has potential, I'm still not 100% certain about the rest of these. If Uno with Little Yachty is going to be working, Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Vin Diesel, Barney with Daniel Kaluuya, like, these are things that I would not bank a whole lot on.
I don't necessarily get the best feeling about those movies, but something tells me that Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Vin Diesel might be at least fun, if nothing else. But if you had downloaded Key Collector, you would have gotten a key alert about this He-Man Masters of the Universe casting announcement, which maybe would have given you a little edge in buying this book before the general public.
Wow, the Key Collector app, Ryan. I use that as well. This is actually the best comic book app in all seriousness. And if you're here every single week, you know we talk about it. But I use this as a comic shop owner. This is really something that I have on my phone. I have on every single one of my computers. And I use it all the time to keep up on the latest news and what is hot and why. A lot of times there will be news that happen throughout the week because of big things like D23, the big Disney convention that just happened. And it moves the needle on a lot of these books. This next book is a character we've been talking about for quite some time. And while he's been going in and out of spec consciousness, we have even more confirmation than we ever have. Number 8 on the list, Sentry number 1, first appearance of the Sentry. $80 average sales, $290 August 2024 CGC 9.8 sale. A 700% increase in copies sold this week after footage of Thunderbolts from D23 was viewed. And we don't have a copy of that because it was under secrecy.
I'm a little bit partial to the Sentry. I'm a big fan of Bendis' new Avengers run, and he plays a pretty big role in that. But more interesting than that is if you look back at San Diego, Louis Pullman has been attached to this movie for a little bit, and he let slip that his character's name is Bob, which is the alter ego of the Sentry, Bob Reynolds. So that's as pretty good of a hint as any that we're going to get that this guy is playing the Sentry until we get a glimpse at whatever footage they showed behind closed doors at D23. Like Russ said, we, as the general public, unless you were at the convention, you have no idea really what happened unless you get like a description, which is as good of info as we have.
It's interesting that Sentry spec has been on the radar for so long, and the fact that we had Stephen Yeun, who was supposed to be playing Sentry, but then Robert Kirkman let the beans spill, and there was some big no-nos about that, kind of makes you wonder how many reshoots they had to do and how much of a left turn they had to make in order to salvage this movie. It may have been a major thing. It may not have been a major thing. I am excited for this because Thunderbolts has been something that everyone's been talking about for way too long.
And it's got a lot of cool characters in here. A lot of Phase 4 characters who kind of were introduced and haven't really paid off yet. You got like Yelena Belova, who has been in multiple projects, but I still feel like she's got a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what Florence Pugh can do with her moving forward. I'm excited for more Red Guardian, for more Winter Soldier, and for more Taskmaster. There's a bunch of kind of almost like leftover forgotten characters that are getting thrown into this team. It's going to be cool to see. I'm actually really looking forward to this movie.
Number 7 on the list, FF number 1. This is the first team appearance of the Future Foundation, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Thing, and Spider-Man, and the debut of the Spider-Man's Future Foundation white and black suit. I always loved the look of this suit. I always hated this book. I did not think it was a good read, and it was really just something that was kind of a throwaway. But the suit is very cool. And from the leak we saw from D23, we absolutely see this, and it's supposed to be showing up in the new Spider-Man animated series. $3 average sales, $125 for a CGC 9.8. This is definitely going to be one of those books that you can find in dollar bins if you're out there hunting, because this is a very well forgotten series from 2011 that not a lot of people are specking on.
2011 is my era. That's the year I actually started reading single-issue comic books. I remember this book coming out, and this happened right after the death of Johnny Storm. So they brought on Spider-Man to kind of replace him on the Fantastic Four. But this was also like a sister series running alongside Fantastic Four that dealt with the Future Foundation. It's Jonathan Hickman doing Jonathan Hickman stuff. I actually never read this book, and I really would like to at this point. But when you consider that the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man animated series, like Russ mentioned, they showed off this big, giant shot of all the characters that are going to be in this show, and it looks kind of overwhelming. I'm not sure how many of these characters are actually going to have giant roles in the series, but right in the front row, you can see the Future Foundation white costume Spider-Man, so that's a little promising, at least, for seeing this costume on screen in one form or fashion.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love Jonathan Hickman's writing. I just didn't like this series personally. But a 900% increase in copies sold this week is a massive increase for a book that doesn't cost a whole lot. Entry level, really low. If you read this, tell me what you think in the comment section down below.
We're going to move on to something a little more classic here. This is Web of Spider-Man, number 31 at number 6 on the list. This is from 1987, $10 average sales, and a 9.8 hit $150 last month back in July. This is part 1 of Kraven's Last Hunt. This is probably the most epic classic Spider-Man storyline ever, ? It's definitely, I think it's my favorite Spider-Man storyline.
I really love Kraven's Last Hunt because, again, 1987, that's my era. This is like when I was really reading comic books, and the fact that you had all three different Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, and Spectacular Spider-Man kind of doing heavy lifting over this run. Some great Craven keys, a great story that really, until I was a little bit older, I didn't quite get the depth of this story. Fantastic, but this has also been on Spec Radar for quite some time because of the Craven movie. In 2023, a 9.8 high sale was $310, and back in 2022, we saw a $407 high sale, which is the all-time high. So while this book has been on Spec Radar for at least a few years, this book is definitely down in terms of high sales.
And before we get too far away from it, I also want to throw out there that this is a black suit issue, and I don't want to call it a black suit key, but we have been talking a lot about the symbiote suit as it pertains to Secret Wars 8 and other black suit Tom Holland Venom 3 spec. That's been happening on the channel recently. Maybe if you want to go check out some older videos for more info on that, but that could be playing a role here. More realistically, though, we did get a new trailer for Kraven the Hunter this week, and that is probably the reason this book is here on the list. I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer, but I don't necessarily love what Sony is doing with these villain solo Marvel movies they're making, although I do think Kraven looks quite a bit better than what we got recently with like Madam Web and Morbius.
A 113% increase in copies sold this week. And I just think we need to respect the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson has like one of the best villain arcs ever, because he started out as Dave Lazowski in Kick-Ass, and then he got beat up by Godzilla, and then he showed up as Quicksilver, and now he's Kraven. Like seriously, this guy went from scrawny little, 150-pound weakling, but was still fighting martial arts wise in the Kick-Ass movies, and then has absolutely graduated to villainy peak in Spider-Man movies. Honestly, I think he's a great actor. I like what he does. He was really funny in Fall Guy. I mean, he's a good guy. I'm just going to go see this for him alone.
It looks like a fun movie, and he definitely looks like he's going to kick ass in Kraven. No pun intended there. Yeah, you can hate on me down in the comments for that amazing joke I just told. Something's Killing the Children is on the list now here at number 5. This is a very, very good modern classic from 2019. We're seeing $325 average sales. There's a 264% increase in copies sold this week, however, compared to last week.
$600 high sale for a 9.8 August 2024. The rumors started happening about a Netflix series getting made in 2021. What was the high in 2021, Ryan?
Well, Russ, back in May 2021, we had the all-time record high for a 9.8 of this book hit $2,100. So it is down significantly from that, but I guess every book in the world was up pretty high at that point.
Oh, very much. Very, very much. But Something is Killing the Children is one of those things that is still ongoing. We've had House of Slaughter. We've had a bunch of other offshoots that are happening. Jimmy T is still building this universe and doing a fantastic job. If this Netflix series hits, there's a lot of potential for more story and many, many more seasons.
Well, James Tynion is, I think he's currently over in Germany right now, actually, meeting with the showrunners and head writers of the Something is Killing the Children adaptation for Netflix. And he posted on his Instagram a picture of a first draft of episode 2 of the series titled The Princess and the Warrior, which was a pretty cool surprise to wake up to and see the other day on Instagram, and that is why we're seeing the book hit the list. But like Russ said, I can't help but get excited thinking about if this show does well, that could lead to more adaptations of James Tynion's other projects. I'm really have my fingers crossed for like a Nice House on the Lake movie, for example, or Department of Truth series we've been talking about for a long time. I really hope both of those come to fruition.
Number 4 on the list, Spectacular Spider-Man number 9, $45 average sales, $265 for CGC 9.8 for the first appearance in comic book form of the White Tiger.
White Tiger is, of course, Marvel's first character of Hispanic descent, and we have been hearing for a while that he will be appearing in Daredevil Born Again, and this was confirmed this past weekend, again at the D23 event behind closed doors, where they showed, I think, a trailer of Daredevil Born Again to the people in attendance there, and apparently this trailer opened with a shot of Hector Ayala, the alter ego of White Tiger, locked up in prison, talking about how people need heroes and suiting up in the actual comic-accurate White Tiger costume, which is why we're seeing the book hit the list this week. I just wish we had something to look at ourselves. I really want to see this trailer. I'm super excited for Daredevil Born Again. It's probably my most anticipated Marvel project at the moment.
A 560% increase in copies sold this week for the first superhero of Puerto Rican descent. Man, this list for Daredevil villains, I'm excited. He's going to be fighting a lot of people. And part of my favorite thing about the original Daredevil series was so many fantastic fights. Really, the choreography was great. Just the cinematography was great. And the fact that he's going to be fighting against Kingpin and Punisher and Bullseye again, and a villain to be named later.
Before we go any farther on the list, I want to mention the mystery mail call. I forgot to mention that last time Russ and I did a solo video, and Tom relentlessly continues to give me crap for that since then. So here we go. Mystery mail call. Today, the day we're filming this, is the first day to sign up for the September mystery mail call, and the first exclusive we are going to announce is it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. This is Venom 35 Legacy number 200 with a pretty crazy cover done by Miko Suyan.
So Miko Suyan is such a fantastic artist, and I love Venom. This is a very, very exciting book to have in the mystery mail call, and there will be another exclusive that will be announced in the very, very near future that Ryan and I may have hinted at if you're really good at paying attention to clues previous in the video. Go back and see if you can find something.
Tom specifically told me, don't tell people what this is. I want to save it for next week when I'm back because it's a big one. So that's going to be fun. Moving on, let's get back to books on this list, especially this book right here. This is one of my favorite series from the New 52. Justice League number 7 from 2012 is here at number 3 on the list with $3 average sales, and a record high sale actually happened back in June of $75 for a 9.8.
James Gunn blowing up the industry again. With his Twitter account, with his X account, 1,025% increase in copies sold on this book, the first team appearance of Argus, when James Gunn tweets out the symbol of Argus and an emoji that could have been Aquaman.
That's right. When he made this post, the only caption at all in there is a emoji of a merman. A merman. I don't know what that means. This is apparently a reference to Peacemaker. They're filming Peacemaker Season 2 right now. And, of course, Argus is the government organization that Amanda Waller is the head of. And they were already featured back in the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker Season 1. So that makes sense. He's kind of teasing the thing he's currently working on now. But it is getting people to take a look at this book. And that makes me excited because I'm a big proponent of the New 52. I think it was unfairly maligned. I think there's a lot of really good series in there once you look past Scott Snyder Batman. I think more people need to take a look at, especially this Justice League run was really good. I really like Swamp Thing. Animal Man's a really good run from the New 52. Aquaman, we've already, we kind of just talked about Aquaman here right now. Jeff Johns' Aquaman, everybody needs to read.
I absolutely agree. I think New 52 is definitely one of those things where DC started off and there was a lot of people that were very, very critical of what was happening. They didn't like the fact that Action got started over. They didn't like the fact that Detective got started over. But the stories were great. The art was fantastic. And a lot of these things were really still worth reading to this day. And the prices have come down substantially since they're technically canon, but still not the same. And still fantastic reads. Go pick up a bunch of New 52 stuff. It's going to be relatively inexpensive. And on the other side of that, I really, really want to talk about the Peacemaker show. So many people I know, they didn't watch the second Suicide Squad movie because they hated the first one so much. And because of that, they wouldn't even give the Peacemaker show an even shot. My God, John Cena is so fantastic in this show. Absolutely hilarious. He plays the Peacemaker to a T. He has absolutely no shame and is totally willing to go above and beyond. Just great comedy. If you really, really like what Dave Bautista does as far as Drax, and you like what he's doing now for like the serious acting, you have to give John Cena a chance because, again, he's one of those big musclehead guys that a lot of people wouldn't think he has acting chops. I think he's great. Go check out Peacemaker Season 1 and get excited for Peacemaker Season 2.
I still haven't seen it.
Ryan, what's this Silver Age thing.
We don't normally get Silver Age books on this list, so it's kind of exciting to see this here. All the way up at the second place slot in this week's trending list, Amazing Spider-Man number 41 from 1966. This is the first appearance of the Rhino. $450 average sales across a bunch of different grades, which never really makes a whole lot of sense for older big boy books like this, but we did see a CGC 9.4 sell earlier this month for $5,800.
100% increase in copies sold this week, but for a big boy book like this, that's a pretty big increase because Amazing Spider-Man always sells. First Rhino is a big key that everyone's looking at, and because of this trailer, there's obviously a lot of other books that are on the key collector trending list. Issue number 42, Rhino's second appearance, is still affordable. A lot of people want it. We're also seeing Amazing Spider-Man number 71, which is first appearance of Madman Marco, but really first appearance of Silverback, and that's another one of those that's alluded to in this trailer. So really, many Amazing Spider-Man keys. Some are more affordable than others, but if you're excited about the Kraven movie, there's a lot of things to go hunting for.
That was good. That was a good reference there. And last year, when we got our first peek at the Kraven movie, we did get kind of a little hint at the Rhino. At the very end of the trailer, we saw some kind of gross-looking hard rhino skin kind of transforming on this guy's arm, and that's kind of like all we've had to go on since then. But even since then, we've seen this book hit the list, the Hot 10 actually, because that's where the Silver Age big boy books usually end up. The last time we saw this was back in June, actually, 2 months ago. There have been 79 new slabs added to the CDC census since then. But this week we got the new trailer for Kraven, and you actually get to see the Rhino in action here at the end of the trailer in a couple cool shots. I'm excited in spite of myself. I don't think I'm going to like this overall movie, but I think the Rhino looks pretty cool.
Thank you to every single person who is sticking around until the end, able to see number one on this list. It's always fun to do a video with just my friend Ryan. But Comic Tom will be back this next week, injecting his infectious energy into the room. This is another book that we have talked about multiple times, and the spec was there, and then it got pulled away because we had heard the Disney heads weren't a huge fan of this villain. But now we actually have confirmation. Number one on the list, Daredevil number 11, first appearance of Muse, a serial killer whose victims he uses for his own art. So gruesome, so bloody, so cool.
And we mentioned earlier how packed this show is going to be with, especially with villains, between Kingpin and Punisher and Bullseye, all of whom have appeared in the previous Netflix iteration of this show. We are now getting Muse, according to, again, the people who were at D23, because we can't see the Daredevil Born Again footage that was shown there, but apparently we are getting not only Muse, but a comic-accurate Muse, who is, like Russ mentioned, a very graphic, gross serial killer, but it looks exactly like the Muse from the comics, which is pretty nice. And we've also got Muse's first cover appearance as well, hitting the trending 20 list, which you, again, if you haven't heard, you should go check that out over on Key Collector Comics as well.
This book went from 0 to 60 in no time at all, a 1,400% increase in copies sold this week. It's still a $20 average sale and $215 for a high 9.8 sale on this modern key.
And that $215 sale, that is the new record high sale for a 9.82. So it seems like, 0 to 60 is an understatement, really, if you count, especially when you look at the slabs, right? We've got 45 new slabs in the last 6 months. This book made the list back in February, and there's still less than 200 overall slabs on the census. It seems like it's kind of a ghost book, right? I don't know if a whole lot of people were reading Daredevil during this era, but it definitely makes me want to go track down this book and read it, especially before Daredevil hits our screen early next year.
Definitely a villainous list. Tell us what you think in the comment section down below. You gotta go to ComicTom101.com, enter yourself, because I know we're gonna start doing giveaways again, and this is the best way to sign up for giveaways. If you want some free books, go to ComicTom101.com, link in the bio down below for that and the mystery mail call.
You should do both of those things. It'll make Tom happy, and it'll make us happy. It'll make Butch happy. You can't see him, but he's been hanging out here on the table with us the entire time. He loves you. We love you. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said.